Welcome to EduCasts, home of EduCasters. Now, if you've been paying attention, you might be confused. Wait, you're saying, this sounds exactly like the pragmatism essay. John Dewey, learning by doing, garden projects. What's the difference? This is the most important and most misunderstood point in all of American education. Pragmatism, as a philosophy, is the operating system. It's a hard-nosed, practical theory about truth. Truth is what works. It's a method of thinking, the scientific method, that you apply to problems. Progressivism, as a movement, is the application. It was the social and political movement that used pragmatism as its intellectual tool. Think of it this way. Pragmatism is the how-to manual. It gives you the what works scientific method. Progressivism is the mission. It's the what for. Dewey, the great pragmatist, looked at the broken world of 1900 and asked, "What is this what works philosophy for?" And he answered, "It's for fixing this. It's for creating a more just, more equal, more democratic society." Progressivism, then, is pragmatism with a social conscience. It's pragmatism with a job to do. This is why progressivism is so much bigger than just project-based learning. It's a complete, top-to-bottom reimagining of what school is for. Progressivism was a direct declaration of war on every other educational philosophy, and the war is still raging. The main event, progressivism versus essentialism. This is the central fight. If progressivism is child-centered, essentialism is subject-centered. Essentialists, like William Bagley, looked at Dewey's child-centered schools and were horrified. They saw chaos. They saw kids who felt good but couldn't spell. They argued that this soft education was a disaster. The job of a school is to teach the essential core facts and skills, the 3 R's, history, science, that everyone needs. The debate. A progressive says, why would a kid want to memorize the state capitals? An essentialist says, who cares what they want? They need to know them. This fight never ended. The back-to-basics panic after Sputnik in the 50s, the A Nation at Risk report in the 80s, and the entire standardized testing movement of the 2000s. That is all a pure essentialist backlash against soft, progressive ideas. The other foe, progressivism versus perennialism. If essentialism was the practical enemy, perennialism was the philosophical one. Perennialists, like Robert Hutchins, argued that the worst thing you could do is base a curriculum on a child's interests. That's the blind leading the blind. They also hated the progressive idea of social change. They argued that truth is timeless and universal. The debate. A progressive asks, how can we solve the problem of climate change? A perennialist says, who cares? Let's read Plato to understand the timeless idea of justice. To a perennialist, progressivism was a trendy, shallow, and political waste of time. To a progressive, perennialism was an elitist, snobby, and useless education for a museum that did nothing to help a world in crisis. The biggest problem for progressivism wasn't its enemies, it was its friends. Criticism 1. The romantic misunderstanding Dewey's idea was complex. It was a careful balance. Start with the child's interest, then guide them to the organized, adult body of knowledge, math, science, etc. Many of his followers, however, took the first part and threw out the second. A man named William Hurd Kilpatrick became the great popularizer of the project method, but he created a version that was often a let the kids do whatever they want free-for-all. This created the caricature of progressivism that we all know. A messy, noisy classroom where kids are just playing, there are no standards, no grades, no facts, and the teacher just smiles and tries to not harm their self-esteem. John Dewey hated this. He spent the last decades of his life writing books like Experience and Education, basically yelling at his own followers. You got it wrong. He argued that just having an experience is not enough. Just running around is an experience, but it's not educational. An experience, he said, must be guided. It must lead to growth. Criticism 2. The anti-intellectual charge. This is the essentialist critique, and it has a sting of truth. In the hands of a bad teacher, a progressive classroom is just fluff. It's a garden project where the kids dig in the dirt but never actually learn any science. A great progressive teacher is a genius who can juggle 20 kids' interests and secretly guide them all toward the curriculum. A bad one just presides over chaos. Criticism 3. The anything-goes morality. This is the same critique faced by pragmatism. If truth is just what works, and the school is a democracy, What if the democracy of kids decides to be cruel to one of its members? What if what works for the group is to be racist or to bully? Dewey's answer was that the teacher is the guide, the representative of a wider, more just adult society. Their job is to guide the miniature democracy toward the ideals of real democracy, like justice, inclusion, and a respect for facts. But it's a hard line to walk. You will not find many schools today that call themselves progressive. The word itself became toxic, associated with the fluff and chaos caricature. But here's the secret. Progressivism won. Its ideas are so deeply embedded in our system that we don't even see them anymore. They are the air we breathe. Ever done a group project? That's progressive. Ever had a teacher say, "I want you to think critically about this, instead of just memorize this"? That's progressive. The very existence of art classes, music classes, and physical education, that's the whole child legacy. Guidance counselors, school psychologists, and free lunch programs. All of that comes directly from the progressive insistence that a child's social, emotional, and physical health is a school's business. The entire idea of social-emotional learning, SEL, that is so popular and so controversial today, that is pure 100-proof progressivism, just given a new name. Today, our schools are a messy, contradictory mix of all these philosophies. We have the essentialist standardized tests and core curriculum. We have the perennialist AP English class reading Shakespeare, and we have the progressive group projects and maker spaces. But progressivism is the one that changed the question. It forced American education to stop asking, "What facts does this child need to know?" and to start asking, "What kind of person is this child becoming?" That question was a revolution, and we are all, for better or for worse, its children.